Hi, it's Nick. Reason I'm making the video, I wanted to put these flat buildings on my layout, and it'll be under the second level. But I went on the internet and I was looking at the different type and also the cost of them. So what I try to do is use material that I already have in the house. But of course, there's certain materials that I do buy. And one of the materials is this uh, poster paper, or almost like a cardboard. As you can see, it's kind of thin and it's flexible. So this is the material I'm using. And I also used a paint for the sky. As you can see here, it's a blue, which I purchased at one of my local paint stores. And believe it or not, what I'm using is crayon. And the reason why, when I use the paint, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it warps the paper. Maybe you can see it in this one. You see like it warps it. So I really didn't want to use paint as far as when I'm putting colors for the house itself. So what I'm using is regular crayon, and the first two that I made, one is a red crayon and the other one was a velvet crayon. And the color of the paper is green, and when I put it on, it really gives it a different color, and it seems to work out pretty good. But also what I wanted to do is to give it some depth. And what I did for the windowsills and the top, the sill of the roof, I'm using pieces of wood. And what I use to color them, just a marker pen, as you can see. Now the one that I'm going to do now, I'm going to use blue for the trim, and I'm going to use gray for the building. And what I use to actually make the fence, which this part right here is going to be the fence, and the building itself is a graphic pencil. And I'm using a ruler to measure it. Now also what I wanted to do is I didn't want the front of the building because I don't have enough room to make sidewalks. So I remember when I was riding on the subway trains and so on, you would see the back of the houses as you go by, and then the fence. And this is what I was trying to create. I don't know if you can see it. I made two houses already, and this part is the fence. And the color that I'm using for the fence, and this is an orange, a crayon. And I'm just going to do this one little section for this video to show you how I actually design the building. But before I do that, you'll notice there's lines here and they're different heights. Well, these are the next buildings that I'm going to be creating, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 buildings. And I wanted buildings a little higher, a little lower, and they have different levels. But to create the fence, what I'm using is a regular straight ruler, and each fence is 2/8 or 1/4 of an inch wide. So what I do is I line it up, as you can see, and I just make a little mark on each 1/4 of an inch, as I'm doing now. And we'll just keep doing this until I get to the next building. And as I mentioned, I like to use materials that I already have in the house, and the reason I'm doing that is to keep the cost of the project. And the reason why I want to save money to purchase a steam engine, and a Lionel steam engine, and of course, as everyone knows, they're pretty expensive. And I'm doing the same for the top of the fence, and 1/4 of an inch, as you can see. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you have to do this. I'm just making this video to show you that, you know, with minimum talent, I wouldn't consider myself an artist. You know, you can create your own buildings. Now, I'll connect them, the top line and the bottom line, to make the individual fence. And of course, in building your own project, in this case houses with a fence, you know, it takes some time, but I enjoy doing it. And it, believe it or not, it relaxes me for the everyday chores that I have to do. I'm almost finished. You just keep doing it. And of course, if one little slot is a little bigger than the other, it's not that big of a problem, because where this is going to be located, the train will be going by. You really wouldn't be able to look at it so that you see every little detail to it. We'll see how it turns out when I put it on the layout. Now, my next concern is when I do put it on the layout, you know, I'm going to have to cut this piece right here and then get some type of a glue and glue it on to the wood or the background. But we'll see how that turns out. All right, now the next thing I do is I have this piece of wood which I use to create the window and try to keep them all the same. Now, this particular building is going to be 5 inches by 4. So I try to get it as even as I can and level. On the bottom, right there. And then I get my pencil and I just trace. Oh, darn thing broke. But still, I have the height. Well, that's what happens when you're creating something. Try to keep it uniform. And we get this one here. And that looks about right. Sorry about the fact this broke. Interesting. Anyway. It's not too bad. Just finish it up a little bit here. And then I'll just come here, and we'll try to make this even if I can, somewhat. And that's my first layer of windows. And we'll make another one here. And just so I get the right height, I'm just using this piece of wood, because this is going to be the trim of the roof. So we sort of get about the same distance. That should be about right. Most of this is by eye, you know. But I do like to try to keep them level. much as I can. So this line right here, I make sure that this line on the ruler lines up with it, so I know it's somewhat level. And we get this one here. And move that up, move it over. It's interesting how these things happen. Just line it up like so. I mean, if you want to, you can really get your ruler and measure everything. I mean, you know, if you want to do that, nothing wrong with it. I wish this didn't break, but what happens? And we get it somewhat level. And just get these so it matches the corners. Okay. Now to make double hung window. This one I will measure, first one anyway. And again, I'll use the same method. I'll line this up with this, the ruler's two lines with this one. So I have it somewhat level. And I just come across, across, and across. And now you have double hung windows. And I'll do the same with the top one. Now, of course, your measurements might be a little different depending on, you know, which size you want to have the buildings and the sashes and so on. I'm just giving you the idea of how it can be done. All right, now I have my windows. Now what I'll do is I'm going to crayon the fence, which I will use my orange one. Crayon as though you were back in your childhood. And as I said, the green gives it a little different background to it, you know, color. I think it's okay. But the real test is after I put it on the layout, you know, glue it. What I'm hoping when I glue it, it won't warp it. But we'll see. And we just keep crayon it, as you can see here. And the graphite pencil, you know, really brings out the fence, the line of the fence. But try to, you know, stay in the line. You try not to go over the pencil mark. But if you do, you know, what are you gonna do? So all it is, and we just keep going until we finish the fence. All right, now, as you see, I created a fence. And I used the orange. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the top of the building, and I'm just using balsa wood. So what I'll do is I'll measure it. Mark it here. I can just use this with a utility knife. But I bought this miter box, and I'm going to put this in the little miter box. And I have the saw that comes with it. And we'll just lay it out here like so. Right now I have the trim for the roof. It gives it a little depth to it, as you can see on this one. Now these little ones, I could go out and I could purchase another dowel which would be the size that I wanted, but this is a little thick. So what I do is I get the measurement and I just cut it in half. And we'll just get it right like that. And again, you could use a utility knife, but I like to use the little miter box. Makes the ends a little neater. Now out of this one piece, if I cut it right, I'll get 2 sills. Now this one I use the utility knife right here. It's a regular utility knife. Wait a minute, and we'll start cutting it now. Again, it really doesn't have to be perfect. So now I have 2 sills. And I'm gonna probably have to do this in 2 different videos, because I didn't realize the time I have to go somewhere. But I just wanted to show you, I'm using the blue marker pen, and all I do is just rub it in. As you can see, nothing's fancy. And I'll do the other side, the edge. I didn't really plan this out too well as far as the time went. I thought I had more time, but the wife just informed me it's time to go to the senior center because what we're doing there is we do some exercise, then we have lunch, and then we do New York line dancing. Keeps us busy, keeps us healthy. And now, as you see, it's blue, and I just lay it here. Eventually I will glue it, and then the little sill, you do the same thing. Just, whoops, you gotta hold on to it. But it works out pretty good. One thing I should have made sure that I had enough ink in this particular color marking pen, but it seems to be working out pretty good. And you do get it on your fingers a little, but you can wash it off. Hi, it's Nick again. I just came back from the center, and I just want to continue this video to show you how I build buildings for my layout. As you can see, I completed the other sills. I didn't want to waste too much time. What I'm going to do now, the sills and the roof sill is not glued, so I'm going to take them off. And the reason I'm doing that, I'm going to start using the gray crayon to do the coloring of the building. And as you can see, it's gray regular crayon, and I just start filling in, as you can see. And then when you get near the window, you want to be a little careful there. And then you just keep coloring. So, and then in between the 2 windows, and you just keep using the crayon. And as you're using the crayon, you're going to notice that in certain sections, the crayon builds up on the paper more than another part of the paper. I guess that's just the way the crayon is. Just go like that, get that nice and even. Doesn't take too long. Just a little patience here. Seems that paper's sliding back. And we just keep using the crayon on the paper. And again, this is giving color to the building. And what I like about it with the green, I might have mentioned it before, it gives like a weathering effect, you know, the elements on the paint of the building. But then I'm in a learning process here. It's the first time I've done this. I just had an idea, let's try it. So as I mentioned before, if I use paint on it, it's just going to warp the paper or the light cardboard. That's pretty good. Now what I do also, I get a piece of paper, or you can use a piece of cloth, and just go over it, and it does help to smooth it out a little bit. Just a little. It's not really going to do too much. So just because if you go over it too much, then it's going to take it off. You can always go over little spots where it's a little lighter. You know, it's up to how you want to do it, how you want to finish it off. It seems pretty good. And I'll do it with the fence also. Okay. Now what we'll do is I'll get the glue, and I'll glue the roof sill and also the window sills onto the building. And what I'm using is just this Gorilla Super Glue, but you can use any kind of glue you like. I just happen to have this one. And I just put a very light dab along it, like so. Then I get the roof sill, line it up. It's painted blue. And you just try to line up, give it a little press. And that's that. And then I'll go to the sills. Well, just a very light dab. Doesn't have to be too much. Get the sill. You want to make sure you line it up. And you just press a little bit, and that's it. And you go to the next one. I like the Gorilla Glue because I think it says it's like a 1 to 3 second, and it cures. Like I said, you can use any glue you care to. And the last sill. And this is the last one. And that's how you do it. So now I have 3 buildings, and I have the sills on the roof sills, and the window sills, and my fence, and the window sills and the sill on the roof. As I mentioned, it gives it a little pop-up, like it's not flat. And basically that's it. See if I can get a better angle for you. Maybe you can see it better. I'll try it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you have a great day. Take care now, fellas. Bye now.